and understand the person that's deep inside. You know his pictures, you've seen his awards, you've seen all of those good things. But today, and that's the essence of all of these things that we're doing, is we look at a different perspective. You come here and you go away with a completely different set of learnings and knowledge and understanding about the person, about the business. And tonight is about opening hearts and minds. It's beyond just knowledge. And that is the challenge as far as this particular event is concerned. So I'd like to, for all of you guys to look at that screen there, because what I'd like to do is to share some very emotional moments, and Osman is here, his family is here, and I would like to recognize them. But before I go there, I'd like to introduce just a couple of people who are here that we are very privileged to have them here. And one of them is Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. He was presenting to the Dubai government. Thank you. He's presenting to the Dubai government today, to 650 leaders of the Dubai government, and he's written many, many books. But he was voted by Harvard Business Review as the #1 thinker on leadership in the world. And that's a huge privilege, and for us to have him here is great, and I'm sure he's going to ask a few questions to Osman towards the end also. There are publishers of newspapers, there are a lot of other senior people, and we're very grateful that you've come here. But let's start moving and let's get going. Today, it's about Osman Sultan. The stage is his. As you can see, that little gentleman upstairs is Osman in his sort of early, when he was about 4 or 5 years old, I would say. Then a beautiful picture of his mother and Osman as a little baby. You see, he is actually human. He does, you know, he's got these family pictures. He's not just the big do CEO. The next picture is his dad, and he played a very important part in Osman's life, so we'll talk about that in a second. The next one is when, you know, I think it's probably the early 70s or mid-70s when Osman was, he was a dude, as you can see. And the picture on the right, I think, is more suited to applying for a movie star position in Hollywood rather than in telecoms. So that's my view on that picture. This is a few of his accolades. He's won all sorts of prizes and awards. The picture on the top left is one of his major parts of his career, which was at Mobinil in Egypt, and that's the management and executive team there. The picture at the bottom left-hand corner is the DO executive team, where he's currently the CEO. And the picture on the right, of course, is Osman animated and focused, talking to Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai. So he's done a lot of these things. This is a stunningly beautiful picture, and whoever did the portrait needs to get a prize. This is Osman, his wife, and his 5 kids. And he's a family man, and this really epitomizes a lot of him and his values that he lives with. And today we're going to be talking about that too. So just a close-up. That's his dad. And we'll talk about his dad and the influence of his dad in his life. That's really cute. Am I allowed to say that, Osman? Did you, at that age of 4 or something, did you imagine you're going to be sitting here looking out, you know, those eyes? That's the dude picture. That's the Hollywood picture. And these are the others we just mentioned. This was very recently at the Forbes conference. He won the CEO award there. This is something that Osman, and we will talk about this in a second, it's a quotation from him. And we'll refer to it again and again in terms of his business positioning and his leadership positioning. To be stubborn on the vision, practical, pragmatic, flexible and demanding on the execution. And it's never to forget the people. I think that's the ethos of the man. And we will now talk about his life, his journey, up close and personal. May I please invite Mr. Osman Sultan to come in and grace the occasion. Are we good to go?
We're very good to go.
Okay.
You tell me.
Osman, today is about opening hearts and minds. Today is about reaching people and seeing the real person that you are. At this young age, what were the key things? What was the most formative thing that went through your life? Something that fundamentally changed you and it drives you today, it lifts you and keeps you going. Was there any one event in your life that made you, that defined it?
Well, if we're talking, you've crossed different ages, but certainly when you grow up and you're a teenager in a country like Lebanon, and you see what happened in this country, you cannot remain the same person. So, I mean, all other things would be just PR talks. But certainly, when I was at the age of 15, and then the Civil War happened, and life started to change radically for me, because it took a different journey than the one that you were. That is certainly something that I will consider a fundamental event in the transformation.
So how did it define you? Did it make you more bold? Did it make you more creative in your approach? Because, you know, you left a war-torn country and then you went into France. And then you went to university. What were your emotions at that point in time?
Well, it starts by teaching you what I call how to cross borders. And I think that in my life has been something very important. It teaches you to start trying to understand the other, quote unquote, because when you are in such the other in dramatic conditions means differently. And this follows you because I like to think that every time I stand in a business discussion or in a business meeting with a team with different opinions, I develop this way of thinking, okay, why is he thinking like this? Where is he coming from? And then figure out how to bridge things. It
Right.
can happen at the level of a discussion with two of your executives, but then it can happen at a more vital and probably more fundamental way, as I said. And this journey, this way of structuring things in your mind started there probably when I was 15.
Okay. When we are still in the early days, you know, can you think of the things that you screwed up on, and what did you learn from them, and how they are translating in today's times?
Yes, of course. I mean,
I'll ask the question again later, what you screwed up on in your business life, but in the early days, because we all do.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. As you can see, I mean, I come from a very conventional environment. My father, that you very kindly showed, and this is very emotional, is a banker. Worked all his life in a bank. My mother is a housewife with a very traditional way. So I was raised to think of things in a traditional way. And at that time, probably, I was supposed to follow a path in terms of, you know, studying. And I knew at some point that, and I was in that path, and that you said, what is changing you, how this impacted you. You know, at some point, I had this feeling that if I move in the path of philosophy, poetry, things that I'm passionate about, that will be for me, happiness. And then as I said, Civil War happened, and when you are in a different, and I went to study in Paris, and then you have to think, okay, you need something pragmatic, because you don't know if, we didn't know if we could come back to the country, we didn't know what will happen to the country. So the normal path, if I said to my parents, I want to go and study philosophy, or I studied thing, that would have been. So, you know, in this, you have to become a doctor, you become an engineer, that were the things. So I had what it takes to become an engineer, probably not a brilliant engineer, and at some point I realized that I will never work as an engineer. So I'm an engineer by accident, and that is what I consider as a waste, something that I did because I studied this, but never this because that was not the passion.
Now, as far as your children are concerned, I'm sure they think that you're working in a really cool industry because it's about technology and so on.
Of course.
So on your coolness factor, on the coolness from 0 to 10, in terms of your knowledge of technologies and so on, what would they grade you? Do you think do they think that you're really cool about these things? Like
about
Facebook
technology?
Yeah, no, in terms of them using...
At all. They would, I'm sure that they will think, not they think, the three eldest know that I'm not very cool on that, not they think. They have the certainty now, so that's settled. The two youngest are still at an age where they can be bluffed a little bit. So, you know, with the little things, so they still, but I can tell you this one in the middle, blonde one is, I'd like to, he will catch it very quickly. He will see the limits. And actually, I can speak hours about this. I can speak hours about how things like social